second short ride, Kyrgyzstan. Day 1. The plan for the Great Kyrgyz Ride is clear. Take 3 horses, transport them to the southernmost possible point in Kyrgyzstan and start riding north, across the Alpine Plateau and various mountains in a wherever we go style. The southernmost place I choose is the village of Atbashi, which has a reasonable road and is also well south of the country. And since the area around Atbashi has a reasonable terrain while being quite high up for the good weather and nice grass, I'm promising myself a pretty fast average pace ride, with the possibility of trotting at least a quarter of the time each day. The plan is Atbashi, Tashrabat, Arpa, Karakulcha and Sarimogul. But there you have it. Plans are one thing and reality is another. Since Fidel and Chai, our last year's horses, are already on the ride to France, where a well-deserved retirement waits them, and probably all the other reasonable horses in the world have left with tourists, we went with horses that are more fun and less reasonable. Our herd this year is therefore as follows. Cafe, comedian of the expedition, warhorse and founder of the World Terror. Barney, aka RKK, leader of the horse team, specialist in fending off foreign stallions. Kicks, teenager, champion of kicking and biting the target. Richard, man of the expedition and organizational element. Lucy, visionary and element of random enthusiasm. The positive thing is that each of our horses has a very strong personality. On a less positive note, these personalities don't always get along with the other horses and the human participants in the expedition. We assess the first day of the expedition while our cargo horse, Cafe, is biting all the horses in front of him on the ass, while they gallop desperately off into the distance, eyes bulging and big aggressive teeth marks on their backs. Meanwhile, Barney is setting up a Hateman department based in Atbashi, while Kix is holding in a workshop of How to Dispose a Human in the Saddle, Volume 1. Cafe was presumably invited to this workshop and picked up some of the tricks there on the first day, but the workshop was nonetheless brought to a violent end by the black horse's favorite leisure time activity on 8 characters, aptly named bullying. Whereas still untethered Cafe, teeth bared, chases his 2 terrified equine companions around the meadow, while the human participants in the expedition invent several new Bohemian swear words in a very inspiring environment. So, we won't be bored here. This year's preparation for the short ride took us a lot of time in the Czech Republic, but only 2 days on spot in Kyrgyzstan. So after 2 days, everything is ready. The horses have new shoes, the bags are packed and waiting to be taken away. Veterinary papers are sorted out. Outfit tested on the horses. Half-day test ride. Does everything fit as it should? When we find out that the answer to everything is yes, I send the final green light to our horse transport. Horse transport in Kyrgyzstan is a chapter in itself. The usual Czech horse transporters are not to be found here. The animals are transported on the back of the ordinary trucks, without a boarding ramp and without a bulkhead. You arrange in advance, through my friend in Bishkek, a very reasonable priced horse transport from the north of Kyrgyzstan to the south, to start our journey this year in the town of Atbashi. Only we are in Kyrgyzstan. In general, finding a good, reliable driver in Central Asia who also wants to work is quite a challenge. Getting such a driver to transport horses is therefore even a bigger problem. The driver was due to arrive on Sunday, then on Monday. Then finally he wrote that he might come on Tuesday, but afternoon. That would mean waiting until Tuesday and arriving at Atbashi around 2 a.m. in the morning. Somehow I don't believe him. I don't think he's coming at all. It's time for a change of the plan. That happens a lot around here anyway. So now it's time to find a new driver. So with the help of the vet, we call the vet transport company. It's 3 times more expensive. It may warm our hearts that we are paying the driver and his friends there vacationing with relatives in Arpa. They will stay in the south when they go there. You're welcome, boys. Enjoy. I hope you at least get to drive your horses properly. It's not a bad job being driver in Kyrgyzstan. You're paid like a god if you are on it. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan. Day 2, 20 kilometers. Where's the director? I yell as I run hysterically towards the marquee in the middle of the yurt camp. I'm the director, a young lady in her mid-20s, early 20s comes out. And she couldn't have said it better. While her husband is lingering somewhere and two of her male helpers are lying on the blanket on the grass, talking and smoking, she manages to manage the whole yurt camp, cooking, painting fences and walls of buildings, and also take care of 3 children, one of them as a year old. No wonder her name is Saltanat. Nomen omen. Can we put a horse in here? Can we stay here? Can we eat here? Everything is possible, replies Saltanat, and I see that we are in good hands. So maybe we'll come back here. On the first day, we wake up at 6 o'clock. By 11 o'clock, we are packed and we ride a nice 20 kilometers. The horses are fresh and the terrain is great. We cross to the main road to China. Well, on the map, it's marked as the main road. In real life, there's a truck on it sometimes and nothing else. And ride up into the mountains. When there's water, we will camp, but there's no water. Anyway, the horses drank during the whole ride today, and we have water for the people, but somehow it's complicating our route. Without water, even the early bird can't get anywhere. In the distance, you can see a huge riverbed down the valley. But that would mean going almost all the way back to the other side of the valley. So we decide not to overdo the start, quietly pick the good grass for the horses for the day, and come back for the water in the morning. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 3, 18 kilometers. So, there it is. We look around in the morning from the green mountains to the quite red valley. A river, our destination today. Originally, we had planned to ride today over the pass, 35 kilometers to the famous, most beautiful plateau in Kyrgyzstan, Arpa. But without water with 3 horses, it would be sheer stupidity. And I don't like stupidity. After 4 hours of riding, we can clearly see the hot air glowing over the grey stones over the riverbed. As in the last campaign in the desert, we crawl with our horses to the lowest point of the valley to the water. Another hour or so and we are there. Well, we are there. We are there fucked. In vain, I walk back and forth along the arid riverbed, looking for the shimmering water. The air heats up to unbearable temperatures on the dry stones, and the absence of any grazing in the area lets me know that the water hasn't been here for really a long time. Is this how these ancient travelers die in the desert? My mother told me I could last 2 days at most without water. But how long can a horse last? Is it possible to make drinkable water just from human urine, or also a horse urine by evaporation and condensation? Am I just an or even a bigger Why is there no signal in half of Kyrgyzstan? Which way the river flows on map it says it? And why can't you download all offline satellite maps on Central Asia even for free? So many questions and no answers. Sheep bleating in the distance. A wise man said that if you cannot, then you should try harder. And if you don't know, then you should ask. So let's go to the sheep. Where there are sheep, sooner or later there will be men. And there is. Richard carefully prepares his Russian conversation until he memorizes it literally. But I leave nothing to chance. Salam alaikum, su barbe bujerda su. Khaida. I yell at him from afar like a discount carrot price at the market. No time for small talk, we need water here and now. Yeah, says the shepherd. There and there. He points to both sides of the river. I see, well, we didn't learn much. And how many kilometers, I try? Over there, the shepherd points uncertainly. Well, I guess they don't feed sheep here by kilometers. You might as well have figured that out, you blonde from the city. How many hours away? This has a better track record. 1 hour there and 4 hours there. Well done, thank you. Richard swallows his carefully prepared Russian conversation sadly and puts away his practiced phrases for a later occasion. And since we can't do the 4-hour ride today, it's important not to overdo the beginning, Lucia chuckles. We decide to ride back for an hour. This way we actually got the detour to the starting point 3 days later, but that's life and that's what riding is to unknown terrain without a guide is all about. You just have to take into account that reality doesn't always meet the plan. An hour later we arrive at muddy patch by the side of the road, which is full of cow shit, stacked cherry cans, all bottles and energy drink cans. What a dump, think 5-headed swans. This is what we are going to drink tonight, yeah? Well, a desperate situation calls for desperate solutions. I spent the next hour filtering the water with a filter, throw a micropore at the campsite, and boil it for 4 minutes before eating. Triple protection, condoms, pills, vasectomy. That's what you have to do with a frog green piss instead of water. At the obligatory visiting hour, by observation, we have traced that the visiting hour of our tent is every day exactly at 19. A shepherd arrives on a spotted horse and rides with a whole flock of sheep in front of him. He's about 10 years old. He stops inside and watches us. Then he starts training his 3 dogs and jumping on and off the horse. And then he's dropping his head on the ground and lifting it off the horse. He's just showing off. Well, he's got something, lifting the cap of a moving horse. That's not something that just anyone can do. I acknowledge this skill with appreciative whoppa, to which he waves and rides off. In a little while, he's back with his dad. Salam alaikum, salam alaikum. Jaksha Mrs. Jaksha. The obligatory social window. Why are you sleeping here in tent? Come to us. We will cook you dinner, drink tea, and you can stay in the yurt. Well, the idea that we are going to spend 3 hours packing up this whole grocery store and an hour and a half unpacking it doesn't fit with the number of hours today. No, thank you. We already had dinner and we still have tea. Would you like to have some? We probably look like complete fools, but they're... The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 4, approximately 31 kilometers. So he said 4 hours. I clarified today's route at dawn over the map. Well, that was from the herd, and 1 to the other side, 5 in all. Richard points on his fingers the secrets of elementary school classes. I will never be a mathematician. Will there be water? Will there not be? Who knows? It's dry and parched here. There could be anything beyond the pass. A desert, few aspen trees, or a river like Danube and a knee-high grass. We'll never find out without signals, so we just go and have a look. If there was no water, we would go 5 hours back again. We'll make it today. After 4 hours of fair trotting on the steppe, we reach a small house behind the pass. 2 soldiers run out of it. Our border post! It wasn't supposed to be here. There shouldn't have been any paperwork to get to Arpa. But fortunately, my OCD intervened again, and just in case, I did the paperwork that shouldn't have been needed. Just in case. What if plans changed or we needed to go another way? We have full clearance to all border areas. And now it's gonna come in pretty damn handy. Where are you going? The older of the border guards starts to say harshly. He speaks excellent Russian. To Arpa. I answer him from the saddle of my horse. I look at him a bit condescendingly, as he looks so small under the horse. They left the rifles in the shed. Still, it's great to ride up to the border soldiers on the horseback. Is that how it worked in the old days? If I can, I'm not going down this whole control, I resolve to myself. Asin Arpani kaida barasin, the other asks. He speaks only Kyrgyz, but again he is local from Arpa. I explain the route to him in detail. Do you have a permit? He asks in Russian. Of course, and as a master, I pull out over my saddlebag with one hand all the necessary documentation. Please, I reach out to him from the saddle and hand him a copy of all the papers and our passports. The lady in the office was clear in telling me, don't give the original out of your hand. And she also has made us an ample supply of copies for various random inspectors. The Russian sends the young man inside with paperwork. The social part of the tour begins. What's this? My safety endurance stirrups garner more attention than I would have expected and desired. But the comfort in them... Do you get any smokes? We do. All right. Suddenly, we are friends. He discreetly stashes the cigarette in his breast pocket. I guess he's not allowed to smoke on duty, and sets about carefully tying our knots. He grabs each horse by the head and checks our knots. Poor tourist, he can't even tie their horses properly, he would probably think. It's okay, I try to contradict him as he reties to the reins of my horse. It's not, you got it wrong. And gradually he creates a better or worse, but in all cases, a completely unconsensual Kyrgyz, not on all the horses. I'm going to have this retied to my screwed up knot called the dragon is climbing across the lake to the princess, and now it's not working out, so I will make a belay here somewhere inconspicuously around the corner to make it stick. The young man returns triumphantly with our papers. Next time, show the original, Russian thunders, importantly. And I take all the documents from the saddle again. Sure, I reply cheerfully, knowing sure clearly that I will sure not. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 5, 0 kilometers. 5:30! The excitement and travel fever wakes me up just as the sun rises. We are in Arpa. Finally, let's go. But it's raining. I'm guessing it hasn't stopped since yesterday. That's why there is so much water and beautiful grass. We can only wait. 5:45, it's raining. 6, it's raining, it's just pouring. 6:30, it's pissing. 7, it's raining. 9, still raining. 10, raining. It's going to be a hungry day. We can't cook in the rain. I don't cook in my tent for safety reasons. And we are running out of water. I got a Garmin Sat Navigator, which is the best on the market in terms of satellite maps and weather forecasting. Unfortunately, just because it's the best on the market, it doesn't mean that it doesn't completely suck in the end. Garmin's forecast shows it will rain all day with a short break at 2 p.m. and brutal thunderstorm right after. Richard saddles his wet horse and makes the lightning dash to the river for water, a so-called Kyrgyz style ride, which means to mount, gallop, jet somewhere and then gallop back. But there is no break in the rain at 2 o'clock, not at 4. But at 5, the rain stops and it doesn't start until the evening. Thank you, Garmin, for ruining our day. I bet you farewell and rightfully throw you to the bottom of my bag. Bye-bye, I will meet you at the end of the ride. From now on, I'm going to follow the weather like locals. So I'm going to wink up and say rain or no rain, with no difference. Is it going to rain? I know this exactly, it's 50-50. It's either going to rain or not. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 6, 17 kilometers. We have already covered a total of 67 kilometers. That's a lot, isn't it? But the travel fever hasn't left me. Oh no, on the contrary, it's getting worse by the hour. We are here so short. It's only been a month. There's 30 days, and we only have 24 days left. We are running out of time. Every hour we could ride and experience things and meet people, and we are sitting here waiting for the weather. Oh my God! Life is slipping through my fingers, and every second of waiting is taking us off track. How many more times I will be here riding all summer? 20 times at the most? And if the political situation goes to shit, maybe this is the last time I will be here? Yeah. Is this what they call a midlife crisis? I'm going, God, we are going in the rain. I'm not waiting another second. And so we set off, a little historically, Garmin with its forecast buried deep in the bottom of the bag. Don't you have another forecast in there? This one says it's gonna rain all day. I want a better one. And miraculously, the rain stops. Красота. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 7, 20 kilometers. It's raining, it's pouring. The devil himself owes us this Arpa. Yeah. There's water, there's grass, but there's nowhere to go. It's like a prison. Here's water, here's grass for the horses, but you can't go anywhere. It's pouring. It's raining, it's still raining. I will never complain again that I cannot find water. A few days without water is not bad either. At 4 p.m. it finally stops, and so we set off a desperate mission. Ride as far as you can before the piss starts again. We are stopped in our trotting pace only by the sun slowly sinking behind the horizon. That's as far as we are going anyway. It's just dark. F it, and have a good night. Kyrgyzstan short ride, day 8, 28 kilometers. Yeah, but what a good night. I'm on horse duty at night. We take turns with Richard, and each of us watches our horses at night so that they don't get tangled, no strange stallions attacks them. And we watch Cafe so that the locusts don't eat him. He's a beautiful horse, tall, fat. The first word what the locusts say when they see him as sausages, but they don't know understand. So I always explain to them afterwards, completely unobtrusively, that this is the horse of a very well-known horse owner who guides tourists here, and a lot of people work for her, and she knows them, and they usually remember that they know her too, and with a tear in their eye they stop thinking about half a bucket of fatty Kazi sausages, and they have another bowl of kummis. Well, I'm on horse duty today. Sometimes after midnight it's brutal all sides out, so that means running out of the sleeping bag in a flash, running out in the rain and counting horses. After last year, I've learned my lesson, and when I'm on duty, I don't sleep naked as a matter of principle. Running around for 15 minutes in just my breeches in the prairie, in about 5 degrees of rain, chasing a strange aggressive stallion will neither amuse nor offend any of the awakened cougher. But that cold back is hard to treat on a track like that. Before we left, we tied one reflective tape on each horse's mane and tail, so counting the horses is easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reflective tapes in the flashlight light, all horses in place, okay, good night. But I just can't count today. 1, 2, 3, 4, and nothing. Somewhere in the distance, a few pairs of alien eyes glisten. Sorry. With my adrenaline on high, I ran, yes, in a sweatshirt out of the tent and switched on my headlamp to the gang of with the blowtorch mode censorship, ready to instantly burn out the eyes of anyone within 200 meters. And there he is. Our teenage Kix is grazing at the bottom of the hill, tucked away behind the Erkaka, while a herd of local stallions triumphantly enthroned in his place at the top of the hill. Well, no, Baba Cats, this is our camping spot. And with a mixture of grunts, hisses, and other unidentifiable noises, I run as fast as I can up the hill to chase the stray stallions away. At 3,400 meters above sea level. What a stupid idea. I crawl furiously towards the and they in the adolescent state of colts from 2 to 4 year old at the most always run a bit, then show me the turds, do a lap, and come back to the origin spot with the nice grass. We anyway picked it out carefully. After many unsuccessful attempts, I managed to drive these over the hill. And then comes the task, catching the crazy Kixik, all in this torrential rain, with the stallions looking down from the ridge. Look, Franta, she's still there. Do you think she's going to chase us off again? This is fun. The short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 9, 20 kilometers. You're going the wrong way. Dashabat is on the right, shouts the man in the white ladder with the hull, as he looks off in the distance, standing on the hull. I usually don't tell anyone where we are going, and I always have an answer ready for the questions. Straight ahead. Where are you going? This way, straight ahead. That always confuses everybody so much that they don't have any more questions. But Tashrabat is such a tourist destination that we just can't hide it. Again, you don't even have to look at the map. Salam alaikum. Take the shortcut straight here. A skinny Kyrgyz man with a strange Argentine beret in his head tells us over on even skinnier sorrel horse. Thank you. I don't resist. Where are you going? To Tashrabat, he replies firmly. Oh, they go there too, to the locals. Soon a gentleman with a light ladder reaches us. He stops, gets on the back, looks for a moment, and gets back on. What kind of local tradition is that? Meanwhile, the gentleman on the rickshaw carefully examines several horses by the roadside. They're not going to buy horses and load them on this little buckboard, are they? Meanwhile, about the fourth decorated hours, the car passes us on the dirt road. Have they all gone mad? It's Wednesday. The rider is joined by another rider along the way, and then a third. They have several horses in front of them, and gradually more and more join in. We trot up the hill to Tashrabad, and suddenly a nearly stampeding herd of foals and mares are stomping furiously behind us. So a summer herd shift to a higher pastures. All the influencers are sharing those herds roundups on those Instagrams, and we are just living it. We arrived in Tashrabad together with a monstrous convoy of decorated cars. Oh my god, a wedding. Then we are a vision of hundreds of drunken wedding guests in front of the yurt, and one fat cafe ready for sausages for the locals flashes before my eyes. Well, tough luck. Today's ride isn't over yet. I think in a funeral tone, we have to go somewhere far away into the mountains. But not every wedding is the same. The wedding guests arrive, have their ceremony in the caravanserai, get back in the decorated cars, and drive off to the city. What would they do here at night? Up in the mountains, it's cold. Their local tourists comment the camp manager scornfully. There is only one visitor with us in the whole yurt camp, a strange guy in a ragged sweatshirt. He's right behind us. Hi, hi. He greets us with a terrible accent. Who is this homeless guy? I know you, he assures me. He turns out to be Florian, Frenchman. I lavished my wisdom on a few weeks back in Sinjab, Uzbekistan, when I was bored in the morning. I sat down at his breakfast table and murmurly advised him on where he should look in Kyrgyzstan because he looked cute, incompetent, and confused like every other Frenchman on the road. Now, after a month in the region, he looks like any other hitchhiker. That means like a hobo. We have a great chat, as if we had known each other for years. It's great in Kyrgyzstan. It's like having your grandmother in every yurt. He comments on his best experience. You say, I want 2 dumplings. And she says, your skin has a pound, eat properly, here's 4. Grandmothers are the same everywhere. The short ride Kyrgyzstan, day 9 and 10, 25 kilometers. Since we plan to go back and forth tomorrow, we decided to leave all of our stuff down at camp. That leaves us with an extra horse. So I decided tonight that I'll mount Cafe in the morning and give Erkaka a well-deserved rest day. I'm going to rearrange all my gear on this giant end, but Cafe senses this. It's horses. Soon, 2 strange stallions who have run back and forth here 1,000 times come running up, and Cafe decided to show them that he definitely does not belong in the old riders yet, but not undersaddled. On the beautifully massive 2 gallop jumps, he professionally plucks his cassock from the ground and with a giant hump, tail cocked up like an Arabian stallion on the show, begins to show off on a circle around the resignedly standing Erkaka and kicks. What an thinks Erkaka as he boredly watches Cafe's show.
Cafe to be a strong stallion, Cafe to dare, Cafe like to run and hump, Cafe to know how to will up.
Cafe puts on his not very sophisticated but all the more physically impressive performance. It takes us a good hour before the big and not very intellectually gifted horse stops jumping back and forth in circles, kneeing, galloping, lunging, showing off at the trot, raking high with the front hooves, and physically attacking all the horses around him. If Lucifer was reincarnated into a horse, I would imagine it would go something like this. Anyway, we are just not going under saddle tomorrow. I still have some survival instinct. So instead of a pack horse, we have a rest horse tomorrow.
Cafe agree, Cafe likes to rest.
Cafe nods in silence, still chubby, yet painting. And I swallow my sentence about salami and go fix the torn ropes and bend cassocks instead. You have to love him. The plan is to take a leisurely ride from Tashrabad over the pass to the picturesque border lake Chaterkul and back. According to the map, it's about 30 kilometers of the journey. We'll do it, says Richard. Well, more likely, we'll not. I look at the elevation of the route. It's 1,400 meters up, 1,400 meters down. We set off honestly at dawn, leaving a head start for Florian, the Frenchman, so as not to embarrass the poor man on foot. After a week and a half, we are acclimatized to 3,000 above sea level, and so are our horses. But our horses are not up to 4,000 in a pass. Erkaka is snorting like he's going to die, and the moment his heart rate crosses the reasonable threshold, I jump off. Dear Erkaka, I don't walk as a matter of principle, but today you have an exception. I pat him on the head and give him a break. Meanwhile, retreat and kicks get smaller and smaller on the mountainside until they disappear around the bend. Hooray, I'm good, let's go! Erkaka declares in my left hand, while Cafe joins in from the other side.
Cafe, be ready. Hooray, Cafe, take off.
To reinforce the truth of that statement, out of sheer joy, he bites the Erkaka's shoulder. Being dragged by horses may have been one of the most common medieval punishments for witches, but I'm not a witch, and I didn't believe it was something that could still be tried anywhere these days. However, Cafe with Erkaka can grant wishes you didn't even know you had. I'm desperately flapping my leashes on the gravel, up a gravel road with over a ton of double life weight, and I think I'm tearing up the time record for the fastest foot ascent of a 4,000 foot saddle. That is, until we meet Frenchman Florian. He's sitting happily on the pass, looking out over the lake. Gee, what are you doing here? I snap at him. I'm resting. I've been here for a few hours. I climbed the top of the mountain over there, and there are nice views. And now I'm going to go down slowly. So we don't embarrass the poor guy on foot, I muttered to myself in shame, remembering the annual resolutions of running. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 11, 35 kilometers. We are rested, and so are the horses. From Tashrabad, we ride 12 kilometers along the old familiar route. It's the first time we've ridden it anyway. And after 12 kilometers, hooray! Adventure! We continue straight on where a few hundred kilometers ahead is Songkul. Maps.cz shows some roads, local maps show other roads, Google Maps show no roads, and local people are actually walking on the asphalt. So we skip the asphalt and just go for it. As far as with water, the maps are in agreement there. They say there is no water on the road, and the nearest river on the map is 45 kilometers away, which we will evaluate as the risk of the route if you plan it yourself. You just have to go until you find the water, and that's it. After 35 kilometers, we stop and set up the camp because we have found the first water, nice grass, and from here on, there will be too many cattle and strange horses close by. Good night. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 12, 25 kilometers, 11 kilometers forwards and 14 backwards. Some days are just worth it. Some days are just shite. Today is the S day. I wake up at 5 in the morning. It's raining. 6 o'clock. It's raining. 7 o'clock. It's not raining. In a desperate rush, we try to eat, get it, and pack up the camp all at once. But before we can, it starts raining again. The saddles are wet. The tent is wet. Gear wet. Me wet. Everything wet. Cafeos rolls right out with the bags before we leave and runs up his ass.
Cafe, be free. Cafe, be fast.
Luckily, he just goes around the circle and comes back. Who would he bully if he ran away from the other horses? The shite atmosphere carries over to the whole team. There's the bad energy on the road. Once you let it in, it settles in and expands until it's all consuming. It consumes all the smells, all the sights, all the wonders. You're just left with a little cloud over your head. And today, that little cloud is with us steadily. It rains and it rains, pacing steadily through the ropes of water for the 3rd hour. My mobile phone and the satellite navigation are soaked through, so I try to take it out as little as possible. Behind a beautiful triple river, we met a stuck truck on a narrow, muddy road. When things go shit, they just go shit. We have a saying in Czech: when you shit yourself, even the toilet will follow you. We spent the next half hour going around the Kamas down on the steep cliff and then back up again. Where are you going? They shouted at us from the Kamas. Straight ahead, I used my usually evasive reply. That's the other way to Songkul, they shout. Ha ha ha, funny, I reply with a huff. That's how they make fun of us. In another hour, we arrive in a beautiful valley. We make a photo stop while it ran steadily. So now straight or left? Only my GPS is broken. Richard, will you check the GPS, please? Mine says we are in the middle of nowhere. Oh, shit. It's not that both GPS are broken. It's my routing for today's route that's broken. We're totally f***ed. I'm so pissed. Those Kamas guys were right. It's the other way around to Songkol. If we keep going straight, it's 37 kilometers further around. And if we go back, it's 7 kilometers further. It's the 7 kilometers I've been riding merrily for the last hour and a half to somewhere, not looking at the map because it's raining. So it's decided. And in the piss of the day, we're going back again. A beautiful ride, 15 kilometers in a torrential downpour, I can't say. We were camping 11 kilometers further than yesterday, at a turn of the road. Dear today, thank you. I'm sending you a key fob. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 13, 21 kilometers. Adventure. Today we're going up the road to the pass, and then we're getting into an area where absolutely no maps have any routes anymore. I can tell by the contours that if we turn right after the pass in time for the Red Mountains today, and then turn left in time for such a wide valley tomorrow, we'll just have to connect to the main bridge over the Naryn River in a few days. Just have to. Those contours look nice here. Plus, the local printed maps showed from a photo of a lake somewhere nearby, although no lake is marked on them. And that means that if there's a lake, there will be water. It saves us 84 kilometers on the asphalt, which I simply refuse to walk because the road is so boring and the locals drive extremely bad. But it's not working today. After yesterday's debacle, we started today with enthusiasm, but the average pace of 3.5 kilometers per hour shows us that the mileage will not be any better today. Cafe is dragging himself like he's going to die. At the pace of an average tortoise, our 3 horses are dragging themselves up the pass and then back down again. Afternoon, the storm starts. A monstrous, dignified storm that gathers over the entire pass. We are trying to ride it out, but you can't escape fate, and you can't escape the storm. In the biggest piss, we meet only the only water flow from this morning. Frog stream running in the ditch. Since we have no certainty that we will meet any water today, we water the horses and start scooping green water into the bottles. All of a sudden, a truck appears. A 12-year-old boy from the steering wheel says to us, "Is everything okay? Do you need help?" We're getting water. I try to explain before the futility of my actions dawns on me. The water is dirty, have a kumis. He starts to persuade us, and after some time of furious refusal, we wave them off with the whole bottle of kumis in our hands. After a few more hours of following the contours, a miracle happens. A tiny but crystal clear lake emerges in the depression below us. We've found it. We are saved for today. We have the daunting task of spilling all the green water and filtering new water directly from the spring. And look after the horses, especially one. We are camping in a place with bushes today, so it's a test of intelligence for the horses. Right, Cafe?
Cafe be big, Cafe be master, Cafe be strong.
Well, in the intelligence queue, the horse was missing. Soon there's a desperate snort.
Cafe be tangled.
8 times around a bush.
Cafe be hungry.
Cafe, just do 8 laps around to the other side of that bush and you'll be free, I tries to advise him remotely from the warmth of my sleeping bag. But to no avail.
Hello, Cafe be here. Cafe to starve. I go quickly to the cafe. Cafe to be tangled. Cafe to need untangled. Cafe be hungry.
So if we do 8 laps patiently around to the other side in the naive hope that if I walk it a few times with him, he'll eventually learn. Kaka passes the intelligence test with flying colors. And what he tangles in his rope, he will entangle. Kix got the patronage job without the bushes. In Cafe, after getting out of my tent a few times, I'm just gonna give up. I take a hammer, a rope, and Cafe's horsepower. Together we're gonna beat the out of that bush. Cafe grazes contentedly in the glow of the setting sun, rolling in the fresh dirt. Maybe he's not a stupid horse at all. Maybe he's just extremely clever horse. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 14, 31 kilometers. The Erkaka today is kinda crazy. Right at the beginning of the day, Erkaka jumps to the side and gallops a few times, and Cafe follows him. So instead of one crazy horse, now we have two crazy horses. We ride through the valley to the village of Aktal. From there we cross the only existing bridge in the area over the Nerin River. I found the valley by following the contours. There is no road on the map, so it will be an adventure. Just to be sure, I checked it out on the way by waving furiously at a guy on the motorbike who passes by. Is there a road to Aktal? I shout, praying to all of the gods in existence. There is a turn-off after this big hill, and the road from there. He holds back, taking a picture of us on his cell phone for a souvenir. And it's a beautiful road there, so we are trotting most of the time. Best choice. We'll cover the whole valley in one day and save ourselves more than 80 kilometers on the road. We camped just outside of the town of Aktal in the river valley. There's only orange water which flows here, and the horses fortunately don't drink it too much. But there is no other water. In the morning, Richard filters the water, a fresh one, and I hold the three horses. From the saddle of the Erkaka, I'm gonna pick the prettiest grass for them. Now, eat here, horses. You've got at least half an hour to eat before you go. Only, it's a society of mentally challenged horses. At the 5th minute of the meal, Cafe gets bored and bites Erkaka in the ass. Erkaka kicks him, and Kix says, "Hooray, anarchy, punk, and total chaos. That's enough, grandpas, I'm leaving. I won't be around with this bunch of overweight morons." And he's off on his own around the lake. In vain I scold him, in vain I drag the two after him, and he continues to go forward with the grace of a ballerina. That's enough of that, I'm off. There are plenty of better horses around. I'm young, I can do it myself, by myself. But after a few minutes of chasing, a disaster strikes. Kix sees an old burnt out fireplace and a pile of rubbish in it. He grunts furiously. He turns around. "Erkaka! Erkaka!" He yells, terrified. "What's that? Will you save me? I didn't mean it like that. You're the best herd leader, really." Erkaka will finish him off with the calmness of an English lord. "It's a bonfire, you little thing. What a herd I have. Come on, let's go back." And so, we drag the two rubbers back to the beautiful grass. When we get there, the water's not filtered yet. Anyway, collective guilt, collective punishment. So you'll just starve. And for the next few dozen minutes, the three of them stand in shame, heads together, nodding. Food? I'll give you food. There will be order. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 15, 25 kilometers. For the first time since the start of the ride, we meet a shop. A lady about 50 years runs on out of the shop. "Gee, horses!" shouts the Kyrgyz woman. "They are beautiful. Can I pet them?" Horse people are the same everywhere, in the Czech Republic or in Kyrgyzstan. No matter how many horses they have seen today, it's always the childlike, "Yay!" excitement again. "Yes, you can, sure. Just watch out for the black..." Well, I almost didn't finish. Cafe knew we are talking about him.
Cafe is big, Cafe is strong, Cafe show.
With his ears laid halfway down his neck, he takes a big leap and bites into Kix's slender young mane. Kix whistles and turns on his haunches, kicking at Cafe. "Assholes!" I groan, trying to keep the two guys from the corally retreating Erkaka. The lady jumps in confusion a few seconds late and stares in disbelief at the horse's black and brown mutter of teeth and hooves. Asshole is an international word, so it's obvious that it's probably not the first time it's been used. Into this comes an old Kamaz on the one side of the road and an old battered Lada Niva that perhaps even remembers the Comrade Lane from the other side. The severity of the traffic jam pacifies both offenders, and we moved from the middle of the intersection into the shadows towards the garbage container. Richard triumphantly brings 2 bottles of water, 2 loaves of bread, 1 salami, 1 cheese, and 1 cucumber from the shop. Enormous purchase after 15 days in the mountains. Akhtal is a beautiful village. No tourists, no monuments, just real beautiful Kyrgyz village life. 3 drunks outside of the shop drinking beer. A young boy driving a sheep down the road. 3 little girls riding rusty old bikes back and forth on the main road. A cow carcass is rotting in the ditch somewhere. A lady hangs freshly washed laundry in her garden. Her daughter is hosing down a big red carpet. A passing Zhiguli car stops and its driver shouts unintelligibly things at us. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 16, 28.5 kilometers. Cafe is tired and he's not going fast. It's understandable with all those bites. Poor little horse is dragging in the back and doesn't look like he will get far today. But a few more vertical meters and we are getting there. Songkul! We arrived at our destination at Songkul. It's blowing here. It's flat like a pancake and there's nothing inside. We're sleeping in the yurt of Mirlan camp. It's the closest camp and has the fewer horses around. Clearly remember that name, especially because never go there unless you want to end up like us the next morning. Richard will get a medal for Mounted of the Year because Cafe is not scratched anywhere, not even on his withers when he had the mosquito bites. It's all flattened, especially under the saddle. Anyway, we arrive and Cafe lies down and sleeps for about an hour. For the first time on the whole trip, it's clearly visible that he's kind of fed up. Richard too, and he wants to rest day here tomorrow. But fate would have it otherwise. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 17, 9 kilometers there and 7 kilometers back. We are going to get the internet. I need to get the horses back home, but we haven't got a signal since we started riding. So we are leaving Mirlan camp to Ulush camp, which is supposed to be 3 kilometers on the other way. Kyrgyz numbers, it's actually 9 kilometers. They have the Elon Musk Starlink internet and sell it for 500 soms a day. When you can happily connect to the internet in the middle of nature. Actually, it's great. Every herder has access to maximum information. Every kid in the yurt has access to the whole infinite world of the internet. Practice your English in Duolingo, study professional books, improve your skills, or read about how the earth is flat. In the middle of nature on Songkul, things can change quickly. All the yurt camps around here are full. Busloads of Chinese tourists have already arrived here this year. It's hell. It's time to start exploring other destinations. I think this will be a Bibiana in a few years. One campsite is pretty empty. I'll find the dirty camp manager. 5,300 soms per night. 5,300? I blurted out his disbelief. Yes, the man chucks shyly. That's over $50. That's a bit much. For a person, not for the whole yurt. The man counters, laughing. I don't look like I can live in a gold-plated yurt. Certainly not now after all of these days of sweat and rain. And can we have horses here? No. In a horse country, I can't have a horse in front of a Chinese yurt. Ahead of us is a mini camp with grey yurts. So what about here? 3 girls run out, about 15-year-old each. Sure, for 1,700 summer. The obligatory question follows. And can we have a yurt overlooking our horses? Sure, but the horses have to be across the road. Well, so the horses can be here and not swing gracefully behind the white stone fence. Sure. Okay, we have a home today. It will come in handy. We embark on a well-acted theater of unsettling the horses, unpacking bags, and tying horses. Working together, we whittle this evening's work down to 20 minutes, plus pitching the tent and cooking dinner. Everyone briskly unsettles their horse. We throw a blanket back on his back because he's sweaty under the saddle and it's windy outside. We throw the saddle and saddlebags in a pile. Next, we untie the saddlebags from the harness, take the saddlebags off the horse and unsaddle the saddlebags. Yordan mumkin can you help me? I asked the gentleman standing around who watched idly as I tried to remove the heavy cargo harness with my little hands like chopsticks. Bukhin, it's heavy. "Oh, yeah, he says, and goes to help me throwing the cargo satchel into a pile with one hand. Well, okay, probably it wasn't that heavy. It's just me as a blonde from the city. Richard pulls out ropes, large iron cassocks, pins, and a huge orange hammer from his cargo bag. He throws the rope in front of the horses and with the cassocks and the hammer carefully measures out 20 paces. It's actually my 13 paces, here's 20 paces. Don't look for logic in that. In the radius of a circle in the best grass for each horse. Needless to say, there are other rules to this. The circle must not end in the hill, because if the horse rolls, he does not end up in the slope. And the horses must not reach each other so that they get tangled up, but must reach each other kinda so they can socialize. And ideally, the lead horse of the herd should be placed on the side where there is danger, and even better, in the middle between the two subordinate horses to give them peace and security throughout the grazing. In 1 minute 35 seconds, the cassocks are in place in the grass, and each is carefully marked with a ribbon, cassock wrapper, or an orange hammer. Because there's nothing worse than searching randomly in the grass for a piece of iron. In the meantime, I tie one rope to each horse's front leg with a special knot, which I then secure with one extra knot, and make sure that the legs are changed regularly every day. All of this has to be done really quickly, so quickly that the horses don't wander off, because frantically chasing horses around the steppe adds unnecessary work, time, and also stress. With the ropes tied, I lead one horse at a time to its cassock, where I tied with a dragon knot. The guy watches in the interplay in puzzlement. You know, women don't do that. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 18, 0 kilometers. The food poisoning from yesterday's breakfast arrived from the first yurt camp. And I have to say, I haven't seen food poisoning like this for a long time. After the initial fever comes the delirium and a few hours of talking completely out of reality. Thankfully subsides after a strong quadruple combination of endiaron, smecta, black hole, and paralen. I searched for a thermometer, but to no avail. Ours broke in the horse's saddlebag and spilled into it, among enteromo, gut colic past, and a few other spills that just couldn't handle the pressure of the other cargo in gallop. We get the omeprazole from the yurt lady, which is supposed to be a local antibiotic. The yellow and white powder, cut off with scissors with no expiration date, is very poofy. But we get so sick at night actually that we end up taking it. We'll have a bad rest tonight. I'm going to water the horses at least. On foot? 5 minutes on foot? Never. In the land of the horses, no one will walk. So I'll get on the RKK and take cafe and kicks behind me. I'm taking inspiration from the Uzbeks. They can manage up to 6 horses like this. Cafe tries to bite or kick one of his friends. And since I have 2 horses behind me instead of 1, I can't afford any trouble this time. Cafe! I shout at him sternly. He looks at me reproachfully. Me? Cafe? Be good. Cafe, always listen. Oh, yeah. The RKK is a master leader, but of course, like the Lord, like the flock. He proudly leads his panopticon straight to the water. Come with me, ho boys. I know the way and I'm not changing direction, he confidently marches. Through the broken tufts of marsh grass around us, we reach the beautifully pebbled beach of the Songkul Lake. Cafe and Kicks immediately dip their noses in the water and start drinking, but less. The lake has, who knew, waves. RKK gets scared. Save yourselves, whoever you can, guys. Everybody out there's a huge and terrible, the whole centimeters high wave coming at us. Cafe and Kicks immediately jump out of the water. Oh my God, wave! No matter they've been drinking happily through the past 3 waves. The boss said, watch out for the waves, so they need to listen. But the thirst is stronger. So I jump off the hysterical RKK, trying to get as far away from the water as possible, holding Cafe and Kicks in one hand, peacefully drinking water with waves. That's like a beer with foam or latte with a picture, water with waves. And a flaring sorrow in the other hand. What can I say? That's a red horse. The next stop is a cove a few dozen minutes away, where the water has created a large muddy pool. Panopticon stands obediently while RKK greedily gulps down sips of the delicious, fishy and muddy brown water. Different horse, different tastes. Alright, that's enough, boys, RKK declares, putting his front leg out of the mud at the edge of the cove. Let's eat. And our train obediently returns to the yurt camp at the command of the director, so it can start its afternoon gluttony after the morning's yawn. On the way back, RKK hacks every step. Yeah, RKK, you got it tough. It takes a lot of effort to lead the squad. What effort? RKK replies. I've got to pull this weight here in the saddle, and these two beep are taking it easy. Well, thanks, Horsey, for the compliment. I think to myself, now go eating. Well, I'd better go to the new grass, he announces directly, pulling his cronies a few yards away. You can't eat that. My old is I assume he means the grass, which he has on. With the local concentration of the intestinal germs, I just don't hope that was a visionary prognosis for his rider. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 19. I did not manage to count the kilometers. We go to the nearest yurt camp, which is at the turn to Kizard. We ride over one that doesn't have a toilets nearby and look for another one. Toilets are actually quite essential for a person who currently uses them several times per an hour. However, further on there are only ordinary private yurts, so that don't even have a WC. And at the end, a world wonder. A monstrous yurt camp with about 60 Chinese tourists who have arrived in several dozen off-road vehicles and are currently watching a demonstration of the practice of the national game of Kokboru. Hey! The rider on a brown horse is calling to us. Come to the yurt of Camp Aziz. Come on, we are gonna miss what is won with 3 horses. The thought of getting up several times a night, trying to frighten these stallions away from our horses doesn't sound like much a relaxing night at the yurt camp to me. Well, it can't be helped. The toilets will have to be far away, and completely against the principle when looking for a restaurant. Where the most people go there. We look for a yurt camp where there are at least people, ideally no one. And this campsite fulfills that perfectly. We are the only guests there, and we are asked a nice 1,500 some per person with dinner and breakfast. Chaksha balade, I said to the lady. I don't even want to haggle, even though I know that they shoot the price from waist by the face, and we look like 1,500 sums max, rather less after a month's trip. So haggling would be possible, but we are like really tired and don't feel well. The horses must stay next to yurt, is a more important subject to negotiation. The herdsman who belongs to the yurt camp has a different opinion. He sputters and gesticulates furiously. To give his Kyrgyz the weight it deserves. Horses, impossible here. Up, better grass, must go up. I return morning. Since I understand every other word, exact agreement is impossible. So I have no choice but to remain 100% strict. I explained in Uzbek that the landlady told us that the horses would be next to the yurt, that there was good grass here, so we agreed and we want to see them. But my Uzbek language probably pisses him off even more than the content of the message. I don't know why, but Uzbeks are really not favored here near Songkul. He leaves twice and comes back with the same requests. I end up saying no as many times as a teenage kid would be. He mutters something about and goes off to the herd sheep. After an hour of rest, the local shepherd with 2 young tourists arrive on the horseback and start shouting at the landlady. Well, it's not a land but yurt, so a yurt lady. If they can sleep there. Oh no, 3 extra horses? The idea of a quiet night ends right here. I run up to him. What are the horses doing here? Where will you keep them overnight? We have our horses here. Won't they fight? The guy calmly explains to me that he's going to tie their horses' feet, let them roam free in the pasture, and they definitely won't fight. And he thinks it's probably something about hysterical tourists. You can see the difference here. 2 guys almost the same age, mid-20, One speaks English, Russian, French, and Kyrgyz, get hosted in the yurts, pick up the hot teenage German tourists with one hee-hee-ha-ha for a galloping ride under the area in the afternoon. The horses come back wet, only under saddle, but how the lady returned, nobody knows. And the second one, he can always wear Kyrgyz, swears and herds the cows here at the yurt. As my grandmother, a teacher, would say, "Children, learn." The white stallion comes to make friends. He took a look at our herd of 3 and had a clear idea. "I'm not going to tempt the big black one in the back. You rusty one, you look like an by the looks." So, and RKK returned to the thought by trotting right up to him with his ears back and his head down as far as the rope would let him. "So I'm going after this brown, youngster first," he decided. "Only Kix is a complete youngster and unconflicted horse, but a master of passive aggression. Don't mess with that. While he's happily grazing next to the white stallion, the stallion cheats next to him to mark the spot. Oh no." Kix immediately started reloading the battle. It simply comes down to whose is up, he wins. Stallion kicks. Stallion kicks. The second short ride, Kyrgyzstan, day 20, 18 kilometers. It's the last day. Damn, it's been a short time. After 2 days of hunger, Richard starts eating again. "Do you have any diet food?" I tried to ask for at least dry rice. "No rice, but we throw some pancakes," suggests the lady. "So that the throwing of pancakes don't turn into throwing up," I commented on the choice of not very dietary food after a prolonged poisoning. Cafe will perform its usual morning entertainment at the saddling.
Cafe wants to see friends.
And as usual, he gets away with his desperate yelling. Poor guy, how sad he is. He's a social deprivator. Horses have to live together in a herd. Romantically, I watch Cafe approaching the RKK, the sound of water like Jack approaching Rose to the Celine Dion vocals. Will they touch? Love the butterflies. Will there be a kiss?
Hey, dickhead, bite kick.
A sharp cut interrupts the film music, in which my heart will go on and on.
Cafe be sad, Cafe have no friends.
Yeah. So to be forced into a solitary again today. The last 18 kilometers, which we already know like the back of our hand. I'm riding this part of the route for the 3rd time. You ride from the coast of Songkul to the yurt of Kizart, and here we wait for the arranged transport for the horses back to the stable. And Cafe already knows where we are going. I'm reporting the loss of a pack horse. It's echoed continuously throughout the day. Cafe is galloping around freely and throwing hops in a gleeful effort to spur the entire herd into a group gallop to today's destination. Tell me how the horse knows it. I don't know, he just knows. He's done for the day. He's done for the ride. This horse is smarter than all of us put together. So, bye Kyrgyzstan. I'll see you later. I look forward to the next year.
Lepsze niż? Zdrowym hałas.
Wybacz, klobasy.
Teraz w tym miejscu przy baleniu to chyba to była to